Peace, family. This your brother, Oh God. Hip Hop News Uncensored. We got another live show, a live exclusive today. But before we even get started, I want to open this up because I know y'all came to see this real quick. From the title is we have a Jay-Z video queued up where he actually addressed the Meek Mill prison sentence last night at a Dallas concert. So I want to cue that up for y'all and show y'all that right now. Hopefully everything plays smoothly. And let's go. You see the ad right there? All right, check it out.
Got a young man by the name of Meek Mill. He got a charge. He was like 19. He's 30 now. He's been on probation 11 years. Fucking 11 years. Probation, 11 years. Judge just violated. We got to do 2 to 4 years because he got arrested for being on the bike, hopping the fucking wheelie. Still nigga. Hey. It's 444 hours all about us moving forward, moving past it. In order for us to move past all the shit that we going through, we got. Just give me like 2 seconds so we keep the show going, but I gotta say something. Got a young man by the name of Meek.
All right, so we see that Jay-Z there, said what he had to say. And I think that's very interesting. That was one of the main points that I banged home yesterday. I kept saying 10 years, 10 years. Like, yo, he was a young man. He made a mistake. He carried a gun. He sold some drugs at the age of 18, 19 years old. Like, come on, man. But I want to introduce my brother Darren and have him actually, speak on this and open it up. And I'll be right back with some, commentary. Go ahead, brother.
Right on, man. Hey, as y'all know, man, I'm the editor of the Hip Hop News Uncensored website. We're looking for bloggers. We're looking for bloggers. We're looking for bloggers, man. So, yeah, man, I was just reviewing this, reviewing kind of the timeline of this, man, and what it says. In 2012, he got hit up for a travel permit, not getting a travel permit from the judge. 2013, the judge sentenced him after a Twitter rant about, not Twitter, but Instagram rant. The judge sentenced him to etiquette classes. And then after that, the judge actually, what kind of really is crazy about this whole situation right now is that the judge, he was sentenced to prison for allegedly popping a wheelie when it was something that the charges were dropped. So if he was popping a wheelie while on a video shoot, which was what they found, that it was a video shoot, the judge has preponderance of the evidence believing that more likely than not, this is what he was doing, right? Now, because of who he is, the label that he actually works for, the everything that he represents as far as his rap style, who he runs with, we can speak to that later. It shows that more likely than not, he probably could have been riding a wheelie for a music video, which is what they found. And it says that was a violation of his parole to be arrested. But my thing is, if it's a violation of parole to be arrested and the charges are dropped, then what is to stop the police in general from going and arresting everybody who's on parole or probation just to violate them and put them in a prison? Does that make sense?
It's crazy, man, at the end of the day. Those are some interesting things that you bring up. But what also is interesting, is the lawyer Joe Tacopino claiming that this lawyer actually had a personal interest and a personal bias against Meek Mill, actually even showing up to when he was doing community service. That right there, it's very odd, very strange, to say the least. you know. So as long as these things can be proven, I think Meek Mill has a strong case, you know, to see if we can get, you know, I don't know if a recusal right now is what they'll be seeking for the judge or anything, but you know, come on, man. And then also to go against the prosecution. Anytime you be in court and you know you're sitting up there, and then you know the judge will look at the prosecutor and say, "What do you recommend?" And they say, "I don't recommend jail time." 9 times out of 10, and Meek Mill's lawyer confirmed that the judge will say, "Okay, I'll go with the prosecution and say we're not going to recommend any jail time." This lawyer, who's a black woman, I mean, this judge, excuse me, you know, who's a middle-aged black woman, you know, wants to make an example out of him by putting him in prison. Now, Meek Mill, we understand that he has a drug problem, which his lawyer confirms. One of the times that he got violated, he was actually seeking rehabilitation in Atlanta, rehab for. He's actually like, this is one thing that the judges want to see in court. From what I observe, at least they act like they want to see you, you know, progressing. Are you working? Are you doing better with your life? This is what it appears that the judges want to see. So if I'm showing that I want to go to drug rehab and do better for my life, you know, why would you penalize me for some, you know, small mistakes at the end? So I don't know, man. What you think about that, brother?
To penalize you for, I mean, it's you generally, if you're on probation or parole, probation is going to be a lot more strict than parole, just in general, because once you get out of the prison system, they don't want they want you to go back in. So you look at certain things as parole violation, other things probation violations. Parole, you've already done your time. Probation, they're ready for you to do your time. But with all that in mind, knowing that he was actually out seeking help, you know, help for a drug problem, it's a long and upstanding, long-standing belief that drug issues are a function of some sort of mental health issues. That's what's going on. That's what a lot of young black men are experiencing, or just young Americans are experiencing in general. I think you did a video when Meek actually was doing an interview, and he was talking about how opioid addiction is something that's really running rampant, and we talked about that with the lean issue. The opioid addiction is something that there's something very difficult to kick, and he should have been commended as opposed to being. I mean, just in my opinion, and that, you know, that really in a cup of coffee gives you a cup of coffee, but and you know, in my opinion, it should have been something that he was actually seeking help, and he's a cry for help should never be punished. I'm really more, Paul, with the with how the judge has been treating the case, just from in general, how this is continually being added on, and time is adding on and adding on for little, you know, very minor things that wouldn't even be considered really violations, like obtaining a travel permit. Well, you know, it's known it's known that he was, you know, he's on tour. So with him being on tour, I'd say the judge was procuring his travel permit. Well, if she's a judge in a court, or the court she could issue a travel permit right there. She could say, you know, as a court order, this is a court order travel permit, he can go, you know, and then that would be it. It's not, I gotta wait to see. You feel me?
Absolutely, you know, correct. I definitely agree with you in your assessment. And I want to address a couple of things that said, you know, in a comment, somebody said, how come we're talking about this like Meek Mill, you know, is God or something? But, you know, it's not really about Meek Mill, but it's a microcosm of what's going on with the system. And you talk about, somebody said, what's more important right now than people getting black men being locked up and put in the system right now? When you go back and look at Michelle Alexander's book, you can see that a lot of time for nonviolent drug offenses. That's a problem. When brothers is getting locked up for weed, but you go a couple states over and weed is legal and people's making millions of dollars, and people's getting a hold. That's a problem. That's a big problem. What you talking about? What you talking about? Me for black men really like that. So we got to go out, you know, and do other things and end up in the system. Nobody's making this. So if you don't like it, you can just, you can check out. But this is very important, man. It's about other men in that same jail that got roofed, probably, for something. Yeah, think about it. It was a meme out there, right? Or somebody, they put like a cop got less time than Meek Mill for killing an innocent black man than Meek Mill got. When you put that in perspective, just put that in perspective for a minute. That's all. That's all I'm gonna say at the end of the day. So, if you had nothing to say, Darren,
yeah, I do.
I'm gonna go to the
Yeah, actually, I do.
Right.
I do.
Go ahead, brother.
And like you said, it's a function. This is all a function, man, of the system in general. If you look at what's going on with Colin Kaepernick, that is, it's not just about Colin Kaepernick. It's about it's more about him. It's more about how black men are being killed in the streets, being killed, being falsely arrested, being treated unfairly by the being treated unfairly. Hold on just a second, man. Being treated unfairly by the legal system in general. This again is another expose that we normally would not see. Guys would just slid in and been locked up for an addiction, been locked up. I think it was a recent study that said people who experience discrimination actually have a shorter lifespan and deal with greater issues just based on that discrimination. So if black men being discriminated against more than anyone else, him then having an issue treating himself for whatever, it might be bipolar disorder, it may be some sort of anxiety. It could be an anxiety that could go with, and he even talked about that in that interview. It's really amazing. It's not amazing to me because I've seen it happen. I've been part of that system to see what kind of happens when a black man is the zero compliance, the zero tolerance. It's a difference between what is just and what is legal. And that's for a reason that's why they call it the justice system, because you're supposed to receive what is just. And I don't believe that this is what's just. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. It makes sense. And that's what's supposed to be, a just us. It's supposed to be. And there are instances, I think, in court where justice can be served. But it just seems like for us, it's not found, the majority of time, in the court system. But I want to actually show a timeline to give a little more perspective before we actually get to the audio. If you have a few more minutes, and just show a timeline to show how absurd, this actually is. So let's look at here. We can see that good and everything. So 2005. Now we see here Meek Mill was arrested for assaulting police and possessing a firearm. Meek stated he simply walked outside armed, but two black police officers claimed that they chased him down and fired at them. This is Meek's first arrest as an adult. So this happened in 2005. So nothing for 3 years. Meek's arrested for a gun charge in early 2008. This is the judge right here. So she's been dealing with Meek for a long time. Sentenced Meek to 11 to 23 months in prison, but he will be released for good behavior in 2009, right? So the original bargain resulted in a 5-year parole period, but the sentence has since been extended, okay? So Judge Brinkley and Meek Mill have spent a decade obviously locked up together. And let's go to 2012. 2012, this is how absurd this is, right? She says that Meek Mill violated by booking shows out of date without reporting to his probation officer. At the time, Judge Brinkley was working to secure Meek a travel permit, but MMG rapper decided to go on board. So Meek was warned not to leave the state. Now, okay, now I understand, you got to follow certain parameters, but he's a performer. This is how he makes his money at the end of the day. So let's go to 2013, right? Meek violates probation once again, by not reporting travel plans to his probation officer. After hearing about the violation, Meek takes to social media to air out his grievances, right? So let's go down a little bit further. 2014, once again, Meek is sentenced to another 3 to 6 months in prison. I remember this.
Hold on real quick, brother. But you see where it says the etiquette? He sends him to etiquette classes?
Right. Go ahead, brother.
No, that's it, man. Just to say that she sends him to etiquette classes. Where would that happen?
Right.
In what situation would that happen?
Right. So we can go further. And then we know the other incident of St. Louis. A little scuffle happened. Then he was riding the dirt bike to sum it all up. And he gave a couple dirty urines because we understand that he has a drug problem. So does this warrant? The question is, does this warrant all of this? Does that warrant? You know what I'm saying? And I say no. It's still unjust, especially when the prosecution didn't recommend jail time. Go ahead.
See, no. What really bothers me about this, about the what triggered this whole last violation of probation parole is, one, you know, when you're on parole you get jail time credit, right? Probation, you do not get jail time credit. So one, you know, by moving him back and forth, she was then, I'm not sure again how the case worked, but he was riding a motorcycle for a music video. So he was arrested for something that he didn't do. That's what it says. And if you even look at it, yeah, the charges were dropped because it was for a music video. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's crazy, man.
As well as the St. Louis the altercation, that was also dropped.
Yeah. So charges were dropped. And so generally, it's been my experience is, okay, yeah, it's a violation, but when charges are dropped, then it's looked at differently. It's saying, okay, wait a minute, you know, it's a preponderance of the evidence. You know, where it's a judge says more likely, the preponderance means the judge more likely did it than not. So you more likely did this not, meaning he more likely broke the law and he didn't. Well, we found that he didn't break the law because he was doing something for work. An altercation again, how can you prove an altercation? I mean, you know, people have, what do you define as an altercation? Is an altercation an argument? Is it where fisticuff? Because a fisticuff and altercation are two different things. I mean, there's so many, the wide range of language and how things are being used is again, it just shows, man, how unjust this is. And it's not about Meek Mill. It's just you're watching and seeing this live. And just like the deal with Tyrese and the social media, this is what we're seeing now because we're in a more connected world. Things like this in the past, we wouldn't have seen it. It just would have been swept under the rug and like, oh, well, Meek Mill just violated parole and probation, and he got sentenced to 2 years of backup time. Now we can actually see how unjust this is. So, yeah, that's pretty much.
Facts. Yeah. Hit on a lot of great points. Actually, I want to get into the audio of Meek Mill's attorney, because he's speaking about, you know, he's going to cover it better than obviously I can. He's speaking about some of the personal things that, you know, Meek Mill let him know, and personal facts about the case that, you know, the judge might have had a personal bias against Meek Mill because Meek didn't do, you know, something. Well, let's just hear it. Hold on. Let me pull this up real quick. So while we're waiting, go into the description box and make sure y'all follow us on social media. Right now, everything's in the description box. Also, the new website is hiphopun.com. But make sure I hit that like button and share the video real quick. So let me start the screen share. You see that, bro? You see that pretty good? Famous brother, old guy, hip hop news, uncensored. Hit that subscribe button.
You know what happened in the courtroom yet?
So this is the audio of Meek Mill's lawyer speaking with Angie Martinez as a part of it. The full audio is on her page, but here's a good excerpt right here. So check it out.
It really was just the climax inappropriate conduct by a judge. And it's at the point now where we will take drastic action. We will seek every angle of attack that we can seek. We will seek pardon from the governor. We'll seek the appeals process, obviously, the legal system. But you know, when you have a judge who's so crossed the line of professionalism and what a judge should be doing, and fundamental fairness is out the window here.
I know that I've read that you believe this is like a personal vendetta, like they're from the same area, Philly, and those mutual acquaintances. And
yeah, it's not just that. I mean, you know, look, being from the same area doesn't make it a personal vendetta. What makes it a personal vendetta is doing things that are inappropriate, like, you know, asking Meek to leave Rock Nation, which is the premier, you know, Jay's company, one of the premier management companies.
What is it? What is it thinking with that? Why would she do that?
Because she asked him to go to another local manager in Philly who she happens to have a relationship with. I mean, that really, really shows you that a line's been crossed, that she's not being impartial and she's not looking at this as just another defendant, but she's taking this personal. When a judge asks Meek or anybody, but in this instance it was Meek and Nicki Minaj in chambers, in the back, you know, judge's chambers court, asked Meek to re-record the Philadelphia group Boys to Men, their legendary song "On My Bending Knees," and asked Meek to re-record it with a shout out to the judge, where he would acknowledge her by name in the song. And you know, Meek and Nicki started laughing. They thought it was a joke and it was being funny. And she looked at Meek and said, "I'm not kidding."
Wow.
And Meek said, "Well, I can't do that. I don't. That's not my music. Number one, I don't do that. But I'm not going to shout out some songs." And you know, her response was, "Suit yourself." And by the way, he didn't do it. And does that have anything to do with the fact that she sentenced him yesterday to a sentence that, by all accounts, is unconscionable? Okay, what judge would ask someone to record a song and throw a shout out to them? That's not a judge. I mean, that's someone who has a personal interest in an individual.
Is there anything you can do? Can you? I don't know this process. This is your lane, but like, there's nothing you can do to change judges if there's a sense of misconduct. You can.
No, it's good. It's a good question. It's a recusal motion, and it's, you know, look, we were hoping that this would never come to this point. We were hoping that this judge would just, you know, look, Meek's been under her thumb for 10 years. He's not had any major violations. Last year, there was a hearing where the chief probation officer, the supervising probation officer in Meek's case, someone who was very intimate with the case, a guy named Christopher McMillan, testified that he didn't believe Meek was committing violations of probation. The judge actually, on the record, found that his testimony was incredible. Incredible. That's the chief supervising probation officer, not a witness for the defense.
Wow.
And you know, when that happens, and then all of a sudden he's not on the case anymore. Yesterday there was a full onslaught attack of the probation officer there by the judge, because the probation officer didn't recommend that Meek not get jail time.
Right.
This is what happened yesterday. And if you want to look, this is not me posturing as a lawyer. I'm going to give you a cold hard fact that's going to make it very clear what happened yesterday was beyond the pale and a real travesty of justice. The prosecuting attorney, the district attorney, and the probation officer both recommended yesterday that Meek get no jail time for these technical violations. They were technical violations. Don't forget, the 2 cases that he had.
They both got thrown out. Yeah, they were dismissed.
My case in New York, St. Louis case dismissed. So both this prosecutor, who's no friend to Meek Mill, and the probation officer said, no, there's no recommendation for jail time on this. Well, she disregarded both of them, almost attacked their credibility, and gave them 2 to 4 years. I've been a prosecutor. I've been a defense lawyer. I've been in this business for a long time. Okay, about 27 years. I have never once in my life seen that happen.
Wow.
In any courtroom, where you have a judge overriding both a district attorney and probation officer do what you did. So you know, you do the math. You can figure it out yourself. I mean, what's happening here between the song request, between the changing managers. You know, it's almost an infatuation with Meek, but whatever it is, it's something that is now getting to the point where justice is being perverted, and we're going to make sure that this gets fixed. He will be okay. I promise you. I promise your listeners. You know, he's going to be good. He's going to be okay. He's a good kid. He's done. Look, he's really done something special with his life and with his career.
It's funny because I was just so he was here not that long ago. He came to see me, and we were talking about. I noticed that he had said to the judge that he had been struggling with an addiction to Percocet, and the last time he was here, he actually shared that, and he seemed like he was in such a much better place and in a positive place.
Yeah.
And I was here that this happened.
Like, you know, he didn't get, when he went to get treatment, by the way, for his addiction, okay, he sought treatment. He went to Atlanta to get treatment. She actually cited as a reason for one of the violations is that he didn't get permission to get treatment in Atlanta. And he went there without her permission. And then we produced, the defense yesterday produced an email that showed that the request was made to the judge that he go to Atlanta to get permission. She was emailed and the district attorney was CC'd on it. She then claimed, oh, she didn't remember that. She never got that email.
Wow. So a lot that was said there. A lot that was said. I mean, I don't know where this case is going to go from here on out. And I want to say to the in the chat room, I was looking at it, to the opinionated asshole. That's your name. I agree with you 100%. That's definitely what is needed, you know, at this point. You know, but we're gonna have to come up. You know, it's disheartening, man. I got to be honest with you. It's very disheartening to see this because it's not only I see other people. You know, I've been behind the tail window getting roofed a few times. You know what I mean? By just, you know, just certain stupid stuff. So, you know, it just seems that. And another correlation I was going to make is that, you know, Meek Mill starting to become an sort of an activist. You know, he put a dope film out, a video out called Young Black America. He's starting to show, you know, some, you know, consciousness, as you would say, and seeing what's going on. I seen an interview with him last night where he was talking about he's starting to invest in homes in Philly. He's talking about gentrification going on in North Philly right there. And, you know, he's you know, becoming a nice a bright young man in his own regard. He's almost making the same type of progression that Jay-Z made, you know, when he was talking about, you know, women, bitches, hoes, and now he's talking about businesses and, you know, owning things and stuff like that. So it's a good progression that he's making. It's just sad that we have to see him go to prison. But a solution, this could be, it's a learning opportunity for everybody. We have to learn from this. Young men, old men, you know, that's the way I look at it. So what he did is what you don't do. You don't do that. You first of all try not to get into the system, for one, because once you get in, it's like a revolving door, you know, and building your own. And that's one thing that we stress here is in building your own, you know, economic system, doing for self, being an entrepreneur. So you don't have to rely on, you know, nobody else, you know. So yeah, definitely. But I know Darren has an interesting perspective on what we just said. So go ahead, brother, then we can get ready to wrap this up.
Yeah, right on, man. So yeah, again, you know, solutions to the problem, solutions to this issue, teaching Black entrepreneurship. But it's you know, what's funny is he how old is Meek? About 30 years old now? He turned 30.
Yep.
I would say Jesus was 33 when he died, man. And he so it was like, you know, it seems like when you get to your 30s, man, it's like that's when you start to really you become aware of the frailty of life and how you know, how things are how real things can be, and you start to see your place in the world. And in that interview, when he spoke about his place in the world, his the Percocet addiction, and how it's affecting overall, it's just affecting an entire generation, white and black. It's affecting the generation. So that just shows that there needs to be a different way. For one, this needs to show a different way that we need to treat drug problems. There's a different way, and if anything, we need to look, and if you know, not legalization, but decriminalization, a different way to solve this problem, because all we're going to do is continue to, it's just going to be worse and worse and worse. And so that is that's kind of my position, is an overall decriminalization. Not, if we can't say, you know, a lot of people get scared when you say legalization. So let's say decriminalize them. Let's say put them into more of a mental health based issue, and then take into consideration the overall differences and what's being made in the community. So That's it, man. That's all I got, bro.
You know, that's too much like right. It seems like for this system, but that's an excellent, plan to say the least. But we definitely appreciate everybody, who took the time out to listen to us. I definitely really do. And obviously, so does Darren. Make sure I go check out the website, hiphopun.com. We got a lot of great articles, over there, as well as make sure you like our Facebook group, our Instagram, and our Facebook is conveniently located in the description box. Also take the time out to like this video, hit the like button. It's very important. Also, if you have a quick minute, share it. But most importantly, the people that's coming later, I like to read the comments because I like to hear the opinion or the voice of the people. After you see the logo, the slogan, I like to hear what the people say. A lot of interesting things come out in the comment section. So leave a comment below. Let me know what you think about, Meek Mill. And not only Meek Mill, I'm sure we have personal experiences, people in our family that, are in prison or, is facing time, for stuff like this. So it's an epidemic, that has to, you got to look for some solutions. So, I appreciate y'all. This is another Hip Hop News Uncensored production. Hey, man, hit that subscribe button, too, for more exclusives. And I definitely will be going live, sis. It's Brother Oh God. I know somebody put a different name, Brother Oh God, if you didn't know, Tracy Glover. So with that being said, peace. My man, opinionated asshole, no doubt. The truest channel, no doubt. Peace, man.